there are some consequences that you face when you ditch school. That is, if you came to the US with the F1 visa, there are some consequences that you've got to bear. And that's what I'll be highlighting in this episode. So welcome to my YouTube channel again. Please do subscribe, okay? Hit that red button there so that anytime I put out a video, you have access to it real quick or in real time, okay? So welcome again to my channel. I've had people, right, who are in the US currently, and they came to the US with an F1 visa. Ideally, they were into study, but due to one reason or another, they've had to ditch school. It is, I mean, you might say it's no fault of theirs, it's not intentional, it's not as if they lied when they were coming into the country, but maybe they had maybe some sort of scholarship, maybe 50% scholarship, and they got here. Unfortunately, the amount they are making for the works that they do is not sufficient enough for them to cater for their education, and so they thought it was prudent, or it would be wise, to just ditch school, try and find jobs to do, and then get more money and subsequently go to school again. Well, that is something that a lot of people are going through, but I just want to highlight what could happen to you if you ditch school, if that's done intentionally or unintentionally. What could happen to you? We always say that ignorance of the law is no excuse, and so you just need to know what the law says or what the rules governing your F1 visa says. So in order to make it practical as possible, I have a story to tell you, right? I know a lot of people, and because of what I do, I get people reaching out to me. There was this guy who reached out to me who says he's been sent back to his country of origin because he ditched school. Well, let me tell you what happened, right? So this gentleman had his F1 visa approved, I think a year or two ago. He got into the US, he started schooling, but he had 80% scholarship, but his school fees was really expensive, and so I think he had to get about $2,000 to pay for the rest of the school fees. But you know, when you come into the US with an F1 visa, you have a social security, but it allows you to work for just 20 hours. That's your work permit. And so if the job that you're doing is not funding enough or giving you enough cash, then it means that you cannot cater for all the needs that you need to cater for. So this gentleman was not able to cater for the $2,000 that he had to cater for. He also could not cater for his accommodation and food, amongst other bills that he had to take care of. And so for him, he felt, well, it was just right to exit the school. So he got into the US. He went to school for, I think, less than a semester actually, because for him to do his registration, he had to get the other amount of money to supplement it. But because he wasn't getting it, he had no hope of getting that money, he jilted school. And so all this while, he had not reported to the school's academic board to tell them his challenge, and that is where the problem started from. Because there are times you tell the school management and then they have other opportunities for you, they have other scholarships for you. This gentleman did not do, because he wasn't privy of that, and so he left school and then he found himself some job that he was doing, and it was getting him some money to take care of himself. Now, the mistake he did was that he had a friend who was traveling to Mexico for holidays, and so he asked him to also join and go for holidays. And because he wasn't very busy at that time, he says, well, yes, let me take this up. And you know, US and then the Mexico is not really far apart, so he felt, well, his visa was still in place. He had I think 5 years visa for on his F1 visa, so he felt he still was in good standing, not knowing that his visa had been cancelled. Well, so he went in there, he finished whatever he had to do with his friend, and they were coming back. They got to the Mexico border and they were being searched, everything. They checked his visa, and they said his visa had been revoked. Now this gentleman was astonished, like he was stunned. How is my visa revoked? Because I have 5 years F1 visa. And then that's when they had to open up to him that his school wrote back to the USCIS or the immigration to tell them that this gentleman, although had reported to school, had not been coming to school again, and that he had missed school for several weeks or months, and he had not reached out to the school about his reason for missing out and all of that. And what we don't know, or what a lot of us do not know, is that when you are in school or when you get admission into the school, the F1 printout that you come with, when you go to the academic office, when you reach the US, they also issue you another F1 slate or something, or sheet or document, and then they send a report to the USCIS that you've reported to the school as expected. You get it. And so as time goes on, if you miss school for several weeks, several months, and you have not written to them or you've not told them why you have not been coming to school, they assume that you have left the school without their notice, and so they have to report back to the USCIS. And so that's what the school did with the guy not being in the know. And so what they did was that they detained the guy at the border of Mexico, had his friend released, he came back to the US, and then subsequently, I think 3 days later, they took him back to his country of origin. And I mean, it's so surprising. When he spoke to me about it, I was like, wow, I never knew that could happen. You get it? But that's one of the consequences that you can go through if you have an F1 visa and you don't go to the school as expected of you. So for me, I'll encourage you, no matter the circumstances, no matter the challenges that you go through, get to your admission board or academics or international students board. They always have avenues to resolving such issues, rather than taking the whole decision into your own hands and not going to school. And so that's what happened to this guy. So as I've told you, if you don't go to school, if you get an F1 visa and you don't go, the first consequence is that your visa is revoked, whether you know about it or not. It's revoked. If you don't report, if you have admission, you get to the school, or you get to the US, you don't report to the school writes back to the USCIS whether you've reported or not. If you've not reported, then they revoke your visa. Aside that, your social security or your work permit that you're giving, if it's a 2-year work permit that you're giving, remember you have to go and renew it later on. Once you go to renew it, you'll be told that it's been revoked. Also, that thing that you're giving, the social security or the work permit, is just for 20 hours a week, and so you can't do more than that legally here. Aside that, you lose out on a lot of opportunities, because if you're a student, there are a lot of opportunities for you to get work to do, to even have opportunity of even adjusting your status later on as the years go by and all of that. So please, let me encourage you, go to school when you have your F1 visas. It is important. If you do not go, be ready to face all of these things. If you have any questions, you can ask me, as we always do. My email is on there, and we can get it going, or on all my social media platforms. But that's how I'm going to wrap up today. I'll be bringing you other episodes. I'll be delving into other topics too. So please stick and stay, and do subscribe, okay? I'll catch you later on.